Our topic is direct and indirect price discrimination. Discrimination. It is the practice of charging different buyers or groups of buyers based on differences in demand. Why price discriminate? To see how price discrimination increases profit. Example is where 7 consumers are willing to pay $7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and $1 for a good that cost $1.5 to make. There, we saw that the profit maximizing price is $5. At this price, the company sells 3 units. We calculate total profits of 10.5 as revenue, which is $15 minus the cost, which is $4.5. At the optimal price of $5, low-value consumers, those willing to pay $432, don't purchase even though they're willing to pay more than the cost of producing the good. These 3 consumers represents unconsummated wealth-creating transaction. We have here the table for optimal price for high value and low value consumers. In high value consumers, if the price is 7, the quantity is 1, the revenue is 7, the marginal revenue is 7, and the marginal cost is 1.5, which is the total profit of 5.5. 6, if the price is 6, the quantity you can have is 2, and the revenue is 12, which is 6 times 2 equals 12. The marginal revenue is 5, and the marginal cost is 1.5. And the total profit is 9, which is from 1.5, which times 2, which is the quantity, is equals to 3, and the 3 minus 12 equals to 9. And if the price is 5, you can have the quantity of 3 and the revenue of 15, and the marginal revenue of 3, and the marginal cost of 1.5, and the total profit of 10.5, which is 1.5 times 3 is 4.5. 4.5 minus 15 is equals to 10.5. We have here the low value consumers. If the price is 4, you can have the one quantity, and the revenue is 4, marginal revenue is 4, marginal cost is 1.5, and a total profit of 2.5. If the price is 3 and the quantity is 2, the revenue is 6, which is 3 times 2, and the marginal cost is 2, which is 6 minus 4, and the marginal cost is 1.5, which is also the given, and the total profit of 3, which is 6 minus 3 is equals to 3. If the price is 2, you can have 3 units, and the revenue is 6, and the marginal revenue is 0, and the marginal cost is still 1.5, and the total profit of 1.5, which is from 1.5 times the quantity is 4.5, and then minus 2.6, which is the revenue, equals to 1.5. If the price is 1 and the quantity you can have is 4, and the revenue is also 4 because 1 times 4, and the marginal revenue you can have is negative 2, which is 4 minus 6 is equals to negative 2. Marginal cost 1.5, and the total profit is negative 2.
Product with relatively low marginal cost or with less elastic demand, like software, music, or pharmaceutical drugs. The gap between price and marginal is large. For these products, price discrimination is most profitable because there are more consumers where values are above the marginal cost of production but below the profit maximizing price. For example, the cost of a movie tickets prices at one theater are different for children's, adults, and seniors. The prices of each ticket can also vary based on the day and chosen show time. Tickets prices also vary depending on the portion of the country as well. Lower prices to low-value consumers also means that you change high-value consumers high prices, making the price controversial. Price discrimination means that terms have an incentive to cut prices for groups of consumers who are sensitive to prices or elastic demand. For example, firms offer 10% reduction to students. Students typically have lower income, so their demand is more elastic. These groups are often poorer than the average consumer. The downside is that some consumers will face higher prices. Direct price discrimination: we can identify members of the low-value groups, charge them a lower prices, and prevent them from reselling their lower-priced goods to the higher-value group. The direct price discrimination or third-degree price discrimination is when you charge consumers different prices for the same goods based on identifiable threats. For example, are the discounts for students, seniors, veterans, those are social assistants, those are reside within a particular geographic area, and so on. A lower price to the group with a more elastic demand and the higher price to the group with a less elastic demand. Or the formula is P1 minus MC1 divide P1 is equals to 1 elasticity. P2 minus MC2 divide P2 is equals to elasticity 2. Or the more elastic demand, the lower optimal price. Note that the marginal cost of selling to the two different groups can be different. That is, marginal cost 1 not equal to marginal cost 2. But as long as the price elasticities differ, pricing is still going to be determined is in part by differences in elasticity. For example, the senior citizen often have more price elastic demand for a variety of reasons, including lower incomes and a lower opportunity cost of the time. As a result, older people often pay lower prices in movie theater than do younger people. The theater manager are able to recognize a low-value customer by the age indicated on a driver's license. They prevent arbitrage by making sure that those admitted on a senior citizen's ticket do not resell their tickets to the younger customer.
Arbitrage can defeat a price discrimination scheme if enough of those who purchase at low prices resell to high-value consumers. This can force a seller to go back to a uniform price. If seller can identify two groups of consumers with different demand elasticities and can prevent arbitrage between the groups, it can increase profit by charging a higher price to the low elasticity group. Direct price discrimination requires that you be able to identify members of the high-value group, charge them a low price, and prevent them from reselling their lower-priced goods to the higher-value group. It can be illegal for a business to price discriminate when selling goods to other business, unless price discounts are cost-justified or discounts are offered to meet competitors' prices. Price discrimination may outrage customers who discover that others are getting a better price. If you can, keep price discrimination a secret or make sure that customers see the discrimination as fair.
Indirect price discrimination.
Seller cannot directly who has a low or high value. The seller can still discriminate by designing products or services that appeal to different customer groups. Indirect prices discrimination. We cannot perfectly identify the two groups or cannot prevent arbitrage, so we must find indirect method of setting different prices to the different groups because high-value customer could clip coupons if they wanted.
So next, we can see the two tables show the numerical example. Demand for software and potential software pricing strategy. Suppose the marketing department does a survey of potential user that they reveal the commercial user are willing to pay of $500 for a full feature version, whereas home user are willing to pay on $175. So this kind of heterogeneity leaves you with the usual trade-off. You can price high $500 but sell only to the high volume consumer, or price low $175 and sell to both high value consumers. And now we consider an indirect price discrimination strategy in which we offer both full feature version of commercial user and disabled version to home user. The most we can charge the home users of disabled version is $150. So, demand of software. Software version, meron siyang full feature version and disabled version. Home user, meron siyang $175 willing to pay sa full feature version, and sa commercial user, meron siyang $500 willing to pay. Sa disabled version, sa home user, $150 willing to pay, and sa commercial user, meron siyang $200 willing to pay. And sa next table, potential software pricing strategy. Sa strategy naman, meron siyang tatlo. First, sell only the commercial at a single high price. Sa implementation niya, price full feature version at $500, do not sell home version. And the total profit is $500. Sa second strategy, sell to all users at a single low price. Implementation niya, price full featured version at $175. The total profit is $175 plus $175 equal $135. In the second strategy, price discriminate, price high to the commercial user, price low to the home user. In implementation niya, price disabled version at $150, price full feature version at $449. So total profit is $150 plus a difficult part of implementing price discrimination is pricing the full feature version to make sure that the that the high-volume customer do not purchase the disabled and cheaper software. And note, if we tried to charge commercial user of $500 for a full feature version, none of them would buy it, because consumer will buy the version of the software that give more consumer surplus, or value minus price.
Price discrimination is not always profitable. Sometimes it is better to offer only a single product as the risk of cannibalization is too great. Demand for software. This example shows that indirect price discrimination is not only a pricing issue, but also a product design issue. We avoid cannibalization by making the lower priced version as unattractive as possible to commercial users by disabling the features most important to them. For example, only the full-featured Photoshop supports CMYK colors. If you're a home user, you probably don't even know what that is. If you're a professional graphic designer, you probably find CMYK indispensable. Recently, Adobe changed its versioning by dropping its consumer product entirely and instead licensing Photoshop to all customers for $10 per month. A $50 per month plan include additional software and cloud software. Effectively, the former full-featured product is now a disabled version. To make sure you understand how this works, let's use the numerical example. In particular, suppose that HP's low-value customers consumes one cartridge each year and are willing to pay $100 for printing services, and their high-value customers consume two cartridges each year and are willing to pay $200. We compute the revenue of two different pricing strategies in this table. In row 1, we compute the revenue from pricing printers at $50 and cartridge at $50. We see that the low-value consumers would pay $100, whereas the high-value consumers would pay $150. In row 2, we see that the firm could do better by giving away the printer and charging $100 for each cartridge. In this case, the low-value consumers pay $100 and the high-value consumers pay $200. Profit that flows from successful price discrimination are likely to attract compensation.
In Chapter 9, it described that profit flows from successful price discrimination are likely to attract compensation. In case of manufacturers, for example, the high marks up in ink cartridges create profitable entry for toner refill kits, and printer manufacturers may be tempted to prevent rivals from selling lower price cartridge created, say by trying the sales of new cartridge to sales printer. But such ties can run afoul of antitrust laws. And also, there are some advice from former antitrust prosecutor. Do not tie the sale of one product to another. Such agreements are only legal in few rare instances to ensure effective functioning of complicated equipment, to name one, but they generally against the law. So, sa example ko kanina, kay marks up on ink, so instead of HP spend of over $1 billion per year only ink research and development in part to stay a step ahead of generic ink manufacturers. As an alternate strategy, companies like Epson and Canon rely on microchip effect to their ink cartridge to prevent the use of generic cartridge and ink to refill. Volume discount as discrimination. So far, we've been discussing ways of pricing discriminating between different customers, that is setting different prices to different people or group of people. Here, we consider the case of single customer who demands more than one unit of a good price discriminate. In this case, we have to find a way to set different prices of each unit consumed. For an individual demand curve, it considers a single customer who willing to pay $7 of the first unit and $6 for the second, $5 for the third, and so on. As in our earlier demand curve example, if the price is set at $7, this consumer purchase 1 unit. If the price is set at $6, 2 units, $5, 2 units, $5, and 3 units, and so on. Note, the difference between the individual and aggregate demand curve. With an aggregate demand, the demand curve, each point represents the different consumer with different value of single unit of good. And also, for an individual demand curve, each point represents value that single consumer is willing to pay for an additional unit. Individual demand curve slope downward because the marginal value of place an extra unit declines with each purchases. For example, a retailer who purchased from manufacturer may find that first few items are relatively easy to sell, but to sell more, she may have to lower the price, hold the item in inventory for a longer period of item, or spend money on promoting the item. All there's activities reduce the value that the customer or the retailer is willing to pay for additional unit. If a seller is setting a single price, it doesn't matter whether she based an aggregate or an individual demand, the profit calculus in the same. Shall sell at all items where M are greater from MC. If we assume as before that marginal cost is $1.5, the profit maximized price is $5. And just as in the aggregate demand curve, we see units worth of $4 and $3 and $2 are more purchases, even though the customer purchased a value on these extra units that are higher than the marginal cost of promoting item, producing them. And the 3 extra units represent the unconsummated wealth create transaction. The trick to profitable selling more is to find a way to sell additional units without dropping the price of earlier units. And there are several ways to do this. First is offer volume discount. For example, the price first good at $7 and the second at $6, the third at $5 and so on. And the second, use the two-part pricing, which is both is fixed price and per unit price charge a per unit price. Low, enough to consummate all wealth creating transaction. The bargain over how to split that resulting surplus. The consumer total value for 6 units is $27, Paano siya nakuha? $7 plus $6 plus $5 plus $4 plus $3 and $2. And 6 units cost just $9. Paano? 6 times 1.5 ay 50 to produce. Bargain over how to split the remaining surplus. 18 equal 27 minus 9. So, 27 minus 9 equals 18. Created by the transaction. This is the fixed price part of transaction. Bunch the good. As we have just seen, the customer total value for 6 units is $27. If you have enough bargaining power, you can capture the entire consumer surplus by pricing a bundle or 6 goods at just below $27. If not, then the bargain over how to split it. This example illustrates a very important lesson for pricing. When bargaining with a customer, do not bargain over unit price. Instead, bargain over the bundle price. First, figure out how much the consumer would demand if price were set in the marginal cost. Then, the bargain over the bundle price for the amount. This strategy ensures that you're bargaining over how to split the larger possible pie.
Bundling different goods together. Bundle pricing allows a seller to extract more consumer surplus if willingness to pay for the bundle is more homogeneous than willingness to pay for the separate items in the bundle. So, dito, ang idea ng bundle pricing is yung maka-allow daw yung seller na maka-extract or yung makahikayat ng more consumer surplus na willing na magbayad magbayad ng buy bundle kesa sa mga consumer na willing magbayad in separate goods. Ang sa bundling din kasi is may slightly different context siya kasi when ang consumer may different demands sa different items. For example is movie theater. So, may two groups ng consumer na may preference sila na two films. Ang halimbawa ang movie na film is horror film and an adventure film. So, di ba magkaiba yung genre ng film na yun, ng movie. So, ang theater owners kasi is hindi nila ma-engage yung idea ng direct price discrimination kasi hindi man nila ma-identify ahead of time kung ano yung movie preferences, yung demand ng customer, 'di ba? Pero pwedeng nilang i-bundle yung two films together para dalawa yung ma-accomplish ng owner and dalawa din yung makuha na benefit ng consumer. So, and ang idea 'di ba ng bundle pricing is maka-gain siya, maka-allow a seller na maka-extract ng more consumer. Ang example kasi nitong bundle pricing is maganda ito siya na gamitin na price strategy ng ni seller kasi pag bundle is malaki ang mag-gain niya na sales, malaki ang makuha niya na profit kapag by bundle pricing ang strategy niya. Kapag ang bundle pricing is kapag two goods na yun together, yung horror film and yung adventure film. Maganda din ito para maganda din ang benefit nito para kay seller is makatipid siya. Sa kunya sa 20 pesos, sa $20 na yun, 2 film na ang mapanood niya. Horror and adventure film. Kesa naman sa buy separate yung pagbayad niya, kung yung horror film, tag 12 pesos, and yung adventure film, 12 pesos, edi 24 na yun, dalawa na yun, 24. Kung by bundle yung pagbili mo, $20 na lang yung bayad mo. Yun, mas maganda ang benefit nun kay seller and kay consumer. Points or the key takeaways of the topic, indirect price discrimination. First is, when the seller cannot identify low and high value consumers or cannot prevent arbitrage between two groups, it can still discriminate indirectly by designing products or services that appeal to groups with different price elasticities of demand. So dito is kapag yung seller hindi niya ma-identify yung may mga low and high value, pwede siyang yung seller pwede siyang mag-discriminate by designing products na pwede or maka-appeal sa mga low value consumers and high value consumers. Example nun is coupons. So sa coupons, attracted siya sa mga low value consumers. Kapag iano mo siya sa high value consumers, hindi nila masyado yung pansinin, hindi sila attractive sa mga ganun kasi pwede man sila maka-purchase ng mga kahit mahal na mga products. So next main point is, if you offer a low value product that is attractive to high value consumers, you may cannibalize sales of your high price product. So dito, kapag attracted yung mga high value consumers mo sa mga low value na product, it means cannibalize sales. It means pwedeng bababa yung sales ng mga high price product mo kasi yun nga, hindi siya mabenta sa mga high value consumers. So next is, metering is a type of indirect discrimination that identifies high value consumers by how intensely they use a product. For example, yung kung how many cartridge they buy. Yung cartridge is yung lagayan ng ink ng printer. So in this case, yung seller pwede niyang i-charge ng mas malaking price yung cartridge kesa tapos bawasan niya yung markup nung sa printer. So dito pwede niyang sa metering is maganda to siya is ma-identify niya kung gaano kadami, kung ilang beses bumibili yung mga high value consumers niya. So, di ba nga is cartridge is yun ang mas mabenta sa mga high value consumers. So, pwede mo taasan. Parang maganda din siya na i-grab mo na yung chance na yun na taasan yung para mas madami kang sales na mabenta. Pricing for an individual customer, do not bargain over unit price. Instead, you should, kung yung mga individual customer daw is ayaw nila sa mga hindi nila prefer yung bargain, pwede kang mag-offer ng first offer volume discounts. Yun, yung mga discount, malaki yon na part. Second is use two-part pricing. So, sa good one, ganito yung price. Sa good two, ganito yung price. So, pwede mong mag-charge ng depende sa'yo. Next is offer a bundle containing a number of units. So, pwede mong, as a seller, pwede kang yung by bundle, pwede mo siyang i-charge ng ganitong price, and depende sa unit lang kasi mas mas makapagana din yun, maka-attract din yun ng customers. So next is bundling different goods together can allow a seller to extract more consumer surplus if willingness to pay for the bundle is more homogeneous than willingness to pay for the separate items in the bundle. So, ito ding bundling is part din siya doon sa main points ng indirect price discrimination kasi ang idea kasi nitong bundling pricing is mas ang bundling kasi is mas makatipid siya. Sa bundling kasi, dalawang product na yon. And, makatipid siya kaysa naman sa individual, separate, kunyari, good 1, good 2, may iba't ibang price. Mas makatipid ka sa bundling, dalawang goods na yon kaysa sa by separate.